This episode is sponsored by Jacobson Real Estate Company. Are you ready to find your dream home? Or maybe you're thinking about selling and want the best deal possible? Well, look no further. At Jacobson Real Estate Company, we make buying or selling your home smooth, stress-free, and exciting. With 50-plus years of experience and a deep knowledge of the Winona, Minnesota area market, we specialize in turning your real estate goals into reality. Whether it's finding that perfect neighborhood, negotiating top dollar for your property, or answering all of your questions along the way, we're here for you. Plus, with our personalized approach, you're not just a client, you're family. So why wait? Let Jacobson Real Estate Company open the door to your future. Call us today at 507-313-2716 or visit our website at jacobsonrealestatecompany.com. Because your next chapter starts here. Buy, sell, invest. Jacobson Real Estate Company. Welcome to this week's edition of Brews and Crews. I am your host, Chris Jacobson, and today we are checking in with your New Year's resolution goals and seeing where you're at. Today I'm joined by Matt Browne of Northern Pine Fitness, and we're talking about discipline, growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. So if you're ready to stop making excuses and start making progress, this episode is going to be for you. Matt, welcome in.
Chris, good to see you.
Yeah, and you chose Nitro Brew Coffee. And I
Yes,
told you last night, I said I've never even had coffee, but a couple sips of just regular coffee. And I like to get out of my comfort zone. So when someone asks, I ask them what do they want. And you said, hey, how about Nitro Brew Coffee? I'll even bring it. Perfect. So why Nitro Brew Coffee? Is there benefits to this?
It's just my go-to coffee beverage. I don't have it every day. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the taste, the texture of it. And when you said you hadn't had it, I was a little bit worried. It is. There's a bit more caffeine in a nitro cold brew. So
Perfect.
Just kind of, dip your toes in there
Sure.
and test the water. But it's just something that I enjoy, definitely.
Well, I'm going to pick mine up and I'm going to give you a cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
And this is from Caribou?
Caribou coffee.
All right, so I just drink it right out the top, just like normal.
Yeah.
It looks like a beer to me, so guys,
Yeah.
this is perfectly fine. Okay, this isn't the coffee I remember tasting. And when you say it's got 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, is that correct?
Yeah,
So it's like a pre-workout?
Yeah. Most nitro cold brews are going to have it's a pretty strong punch. Like I said, about 20 milligrams per ounce.
Okay.
So
I take pre-workout.
Yep.
I don't know if you do or not.
I do not.
So mine are packed with about 300 milligrams of caffeine already. So
Yep.
I've already had my workout this morning. So this will be going on to like 500 to 600 milligrams of caffeine. So I'll be ready to go. Now, is it healthier than taking, let's just say I go get a sugar-free energy drink? Is it going to be a little bit healthier than that?
I'm going to argue yes.
Okay.
You can, there's some. I'm just not a big fan of energy drinks. I try to get as many things as I consume it, as natural as possible.
Sure.
So, nitro cold brew is just cold brew coffee infused with nitrogen. But I think, we're doing a better job of, even with energy drinks or pre-workouts now, monitoring
Sure.
what is in those.
Yeah.
But I've been kind of out of that. Back in the day, I've tried pre-workouts, but it's been many, many years since I've tried one now. So it's been a while. I can't really speak on that too much. But
So when you do your workouts, you don't know nothing?
just coffee before.
Just coffee before?
Yep.
Well, maybe this is what I need to start doing.
Coffee does the job.
Well, I mean, this is really a fun one because I've been working out since 2006, I think, is when I really got into it. Now, we were both athletes, so working out kind of came along with it. But starting to actually hit the gym, dude, I remember going to my first year of college, and I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I was at a community college in Iowa. And for those who are always like, man, it's pretty intimidating getting into the gym at first, I remember we had a pretty dingy workout place. And I went in there '06, and I'm lifting next to the football team. And now, granted, I don't care if you're a community college football player, a D1, they're still lifting heavy. So I'm in there next to these guys that are repping like 315-pound bench presses, and I have 25s on the side. And I'm like, man, I feel inferior to these guys. But I was like, once I get going, though, it'll be fine. So I always tell everyone, if you're a little, and you're probably going to tell these people too, because you're more into this than I am, but there's no need to actually be as maybe scared or intimidated to go into the gym, working out next to people that are lifting more than you or that are doing more than what you may be doing as well. So I remember that I was a little nervous. I was like, man, these guys next to me are pushing out this weight, and I'm just 25s on each side, man.
Yeah, but I bet you found that as like a little bit of a motivating factor
That too,
as
yeah.
well. And what you quickly realize in that situation, I'm sure you found this, is that everybody's on their own journey, and really no one's paying attention to you because everyone's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So if anything, I just say use it as fuel. You know, if you see someone doing something, you know, lifting more weight than you or doing a more challenging workout than you, you know, if anything, just use that as a motivating factor.
Yep.
And I think people will be surprised, those that maybe are just starting their health and fitness journey, going to the gym for the first time. Like, people are so willing to help you
Yes,
as
they
well.
are. Yep. You can go ask someone for a spot. I do it all the time. I'm like, can I get a spot? And everyone's like, yeah. And they come ask me, yeah, not a problem. I mean, when people are at the gym and they're into an intense workout, they're, you know, you look like you're not approachable probably, but actually, like you just said, everyone I think is very approachable at the gym. So I want to go back to the origins of where your journey all started, because I don't think it just happened overnight. I'm pretty sure there's probably something that started this whole journey. So if you want to take us back to your origins of the story, that'd be great.
Yeah. I'll try not to chew up the whole podcast time here with that, so we'll kind of go fast track. But like you said, you know, we grew up playing athletics together, and it was during that time period, you know, going back a little bit further, even before sports started. When I was really, really young, I got diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
And that led to some, you know, health challenges through my youth, you know, from age 5 through 10. One of the biggest things was, due to the drugs that I had to take, I was left overweight, you know, through my elementary years into middle school. So when I got into athletics, I always felt like I was a step behind, you know, that, you know, just being, you know, at a heavier body weight, that, you know, I didn't get as much playing time. Playing was difficult. And I found myself, especially when I got into middle school, really wanting to make a change. And luckily there was great mentors through middle school, through high school, in the strength and conditioning department, in the weight room, that really guided me and sort of, you know, led me and taught me the way. And through that process, I really fell in love with the training for sport, as well as the sport itself. You know, basketball was my big sport in high school that I enjoyed most, but participated in several sports. And so that's kind of the origin. It was this, you know, being sick as a child, and learning that through training we can really change our bodies, you know, and really the sky's the limit for as far as you want to take it.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, if you're not going to, even if you are going to be a pro athlete, those playing days, they come to an end, and you're left with what, you know, it's like there's a reason you and I still go to the gym. You know, we fell in love with that training process and taking care of our bodies. And so that's really the, you know, sort of the fast track to how I got into health and fitness. You know, I sort of skipped over the fact that, you know, I fell in love with training so much that once I got to college, I pursued degrees. You know, I spent time pursuing a degree in pre-physical therapy. Then I switched to kinesiology, then exercise science. Ended up getting a degree in physical education and sports science. So went through some different, you know, different majors, but ended up settling on that. But I made that change at the end of my college career, so I also had the ability to go into schools and teach if I chose to do that, which I did for part of my professional journey.
Sure. So I want to go back.
Yeah.
You had cancer as a child.
Yes.
What kind was it?
Leukemia.
Leukemia. Okay. So are you cancer free now?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I was put in remission when I was 10 years old.
Okay. So it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And no scares since?
No scares. Little knock on wood here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that right there can already be a defeating factor as a child. You know, as you're a child, you hear this and you see the change that your body was going through that you said, you know, overweight, you felt like you're a step behind. That could be a determining factor or a deterring factor for a child for sure, because at that age you're so young and everything just seems like it's the end of the world possibly, or, you know, and that you overcame that. And I remember we were at basketball camps together all the time, and I didn't know anything about that journey at all.
Yeah.
And I thought I had heard about that a little bit, but you're telling the story now, so now I've heard it from you, so that's good to hear. So all that then kind of changed, and you're like, wow, I love playing sports, and then you love training for the sport. Which sport was it basketball you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I remember you got to train for like certain sports. I remember I was watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and he said he had to go from a basketball player to a baseball player, and then he had to train back. So there are different training methods for different sports. Is that correct?
Yeah, most definitely, and especially as you get, further along into those sports, or those careers advance, you may be doing things, more specific for that particular sport. At the middle school, high school level, you can start to, there's the big discussion of like sports specialization and the training that goes into that sport. There's always certain things that you're going to double click on for a given sport.
Sure.
But at the levels that I played, I never played, college sports. Everyone was kind of one in the weight room. Not that you didn't train with your specific like sports team.
Yep.
But a lot of the weight training program was similar from sport to sport.
Sure. Yeah. And so then you said you have education in this, and you used to teach it too, like to colleges, or?
Yeah, no. So my education, in terms of my ability to go into schools, my licensure is K through 12. So
Okay.
be going and teaching, physical education in schools, K through 12.
Sure. I guess I have that same degree, K through 12, physical education, and then a health minor. So I did all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of similar in that way. Now, when it comes to February, you wrote and said that 80% of people fall off by about February. Because right now, when this releases, it'll be middle of February. So we're 6 to 7 weeks into the new year from the resolutionist. What is the reason for that? Is there a reason for that?
I think it's not just one reason,
Okay.
multiple reasons. I think one of the biggest things, and I encourage individuals that I work with, is to, start off with routines and an approach that you believe you can maintain. Right.
Yep.
And I think we get really, really motivated. Jan 1, we're going to hit it hard.
Yep.
This is going to be the year that we make all the healthy changes, and we try to do everything at once.
Sure.
Instead of just slowly implementing positive changes. With the long run in mind, because health and fitness, it's not just a 30-day plan, 60-day plan, a 1-year plan. You want to be able to carry it out for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So I think starting slow is actually better, and I just think too many people bite off a little more than they can chew early on. Maybe they don't see changes as fast as they want, and perhaps it just took too much dedication. Like, instead of just adopting the pattern of going to the gym 3 days a week, they said in January, Jan 1, I'm going all 7 days.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe they don't see the changes that they want over a 1-month period. Life gets chaotic, and they're just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to maintain this. And so it's this like all or none, principle.
Yeah, and I can totally agree. Sometimes it just takes by getting 10,000 steps in your day and just walking or walk your dog. I always told kids that too, and I was like, physical education doesn't have to be about competitive sports, and that's why I would take them to go do, frisbee golf, because that's really good. You're walking a ton in frisbee golf, or I would teach them how to play ultimate frisbee, just different types of things. And I think that kind of comes with adulthood too, is start off to something that's manageable and then work your way up, because it is easy to say, yep, I'm going all 7 days right away. This is the new year. This is the new me. I always hear that one. So that one's always interesting. But I like what you said, there's a reality versus the motivation. Year 1 or Jan 1, I'm motivated, but then there's a reality that has to come in. And I know you're going to probably talk on this, which recovery and rest is also part of the fitness level too, because you have to rest your body, even though it seems counteractive. Your body does the best when it gets enough recovery, from what I understand, and I'm sure you'll talk more on that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, So what is a common mistake do you think that people make? Is it I'm going all out 7 days a week? Is that maybe a common problem that people have at Jan 1?
I think so. Yeah. That is a common one. And then, it's so important to have goals, but shooting for the stars like right off the bat, and not setting short-term realistic goals. Yeah. And then you can look out to what is the end goal, but then working your way back. So for example, maybe you have a 1-year goal to lose 20 pounds, but you're just always looking at that 20 pounds instead of in January, I'm just focused on 3 pounds. you know, and then just slowly building on that. As I previously mentioned, you notice maybe not seeing the changes that they want fast enough. You understand this takes time. Like if you find yourself out of shape, whether it's, you know, overweight, whatever it is, it took time to get to that place. It's going to take time to reverse that to get to where you want to be. You know, if you think about the amount of time, you know, an individual who might find themselves not where they want to be, call it out of shape, it did just take 1 month to get there, right? It probably took years. So I think adopting that mindset of it's going to take years to get me where I want to go. Right. Not to say you won't see any changes in that time. That'd be really, really difficult. You're going to see changes. They might just not happen as quickly as you want them to.
When in your profession, what do you see the most goals? Is it weight loss? Is it I want to be able to run a 5K? What are some of the goals that people come into you with?
Yeah, weight loss is really, really common. One that's really cool is I work with a lot of young parents. And whether they tell me directly or not, I know that a goal is they just want to be able to do everything, you know, with their kids. They want to have energy.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you touched on recovery earlier, and I think individuals who find themselves out of shape often have like sleep issues, and so they want to feel revived and energized. They want to be able to sleep at night. But yeah, circling back, I think, you know, weight loss is one that's really common. They may have aches and pains, you know. That's another one that they want to, you know, I've got this nagging low back, or, you know, my hips hurt, and so often that's because of lack of movement, you know. So just getting them in and moving and stretching and working on mobility, also so important.
Okay, now that's really cool. People just want to be able to do all these activities with their children, because children are getting more mobile as they get older, and they're going to be in sports, and you probably want to be there with them. So that's a really good goal for parents as well. But weight loss is the one that you say is pretty common as well. Now, one thing I always know is that muscle weighs more than fat. So if people are starting to work out and they're starting to put on some muscle, you might not see the weight loss as much. Is that correct?
That is correct, and yeah, you have to understand putting on muscle like in a very important, healthy process. But the number on the scale, you know, might not be moving as quickly as you want it to, or it might even initially be moving in the wrong direction, and that's okay. You know, it's just focusing on the process, you know, is ultimately the most important thing. Now, if months go by and you're not noticing any change in the positive direction, you may want to circle back to your approach and, you know, what is missing? What's the missing piece right now? Yeah. I think it's important that's a great point, Chris, to highlight. I also think it's important to not just like always use that as an escape in terms of, you know, kind of working your way around. You know, maybe not tightening up your diet as much as you need to, and just saying, well, I'm gaining muscle.
Yeah,
you know,
right. Bulking season.
That can go both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bulking season.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you just touched on nutrition, and I feel like that might be where a lot of the problems may come in. I'm guilty of it. My nutrition habits are not where they should be, and if they were, I'd probably just cut and lean. But I do like to indulge in some tastier foods like pizzas and cookies and stuff like that. So when it comes down to nutrition, how do you structure yourself how do you structure your days for nutrition to get the right amount at the right times? Because it seems like a job in itself when I see, you know, like meal prepping and all this kind of stuff. How do you do it yourself? And then what do you do for your clients, or how do you help your clients with that?
Yeah. You know, what I do and what, you know, I would help a, you know, first time nutrition client with, it's going to be, the underlying principles are going to be the same, but how we go about it is going to be different. I'm able to, because I've been doing this for so long, put things more on autopilot. Doesn't ever mean that I don't need to circle back and really focus on certain areas where it's like, Matt, you're getting a little bit sloppy in that area. You need to focus on making sure you're getting enough protein. You know, life's been real chaotic lately, and you're missing, you're falling short there. Doesn't mean I never need to do that, because I do, and I need to check myself at certain times. But for the most part, it's just I eat similar things every day. I understand the macronutrients and calories that are in those foods, and it's just rinse, repeat. Someone who's just starting out, you know, a big thing to get them focused on is just eat more whole, natural food and less highly processed food, and that's a difficult challenge. Also helping individuals understand that as you begin this journey, right, we already talked about you want to be able to take this thing the distance, right? It's not a 30-day, 60-day, 1-year challenge, right? You want to do it for the rest of your life. Well, are you never going to have pizza again if pizza's your favorite thing? No. So there's a time and a place for it. But I think people need to understand that you do have to put guardrails in place. You probably not going to be able to eat just the way you're eating right now, and see the changes that you want to see. So you're gonna have to make changes in your nutrition, and yes, it is challenging off the bat. But once you see positive changes, your body starts to feel better.
Yep.
That gets the snowball rolling, and oftentimes that's all an individual needs to really start to adhere to a healthier nutrition program.
Well, I always told kids, and I think I heard this from Chris Powell, I'm sure you know who that is, that if you go to a grocery store, most of the healthy food is around the outside. So if you ever go there, usually you walk in, your vegetables, you got your dairy all around kind of the outside, your meat counter, and then everything in the middle is usually processed style food that sits on the shelf or a can for a while. Is that true? Or
You find that that's pretty true.
Yeah.
Yeah. In now doesn't mean you can't get into trouble on the outskirts of the grocery
Right,
store
there's the frozen food
as well.
section.
But when we're talking about places to start and just simple principles, yeah, that can be a really simple principle to adopt, and you can see really positive changes.
Sure.
Just from making that change. Spend more time on the outskirts of the grocery store, less time going up and down the aisles.
Would you have a favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal. I mean, like
Yeah.
favorite foods. If I'm gonna indulge, pizza's up there. Nachos are up there.
Okay.
I mean, we're in Winona, so Blados, right? I
Oh,
mean,
gosh, yes.
You gotta find a time to enjoy some Blados. So those are the big ones
Yeah.
for me.
So with the nutrition now, there's always these. I don't know if they're just hearsay, but is there anything with truth for like intermittent fasting and all that? Does that come into play ever?
So that's such a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. That is, so often we can get kind of deep in the weeds too soon. For someone who's just starting,
Yep.
their journey, and we're hearing these buzzwords or these different protocols like intermittent fasting, and that's really down the line.
Okay.
It's not something that intermittent fasting, for example, it's not something that you need to do or you need to adopt to be healthy. There's plenty of individuals who don't intermittent fast who are successful dieters.
Sure.
And so I think so often we search for these, it's this new approach that we can adopt, and that's going to be the healthy change. And often that's not the case, and that's something that you might want to, maybe it works for you and you want to explore when you get into your nutritional journey a bit more and you've mastered the basics.
Yep.
But so often we want to get into these more advanced protocols when we don't even understand what a calorie is. How much protein should I be eating in a day? What foods have protein? What foods have carbohydrates? What are good carbohydrates versus bad carbohydrates? Just like I said, mastering the basics first, that's going to get you 90% of the way
Yep.
before we need to start worrying about things or even trying things like intermittent fasting.
Yeah. Well, and so I hear that word and I kind of do it not by choice, just because I'm not a big into breakfast. I mean, if I do, it's going to be like, I want Blados donuts.
Yeah,
I want that. But I kind of do it not even thinking about it. I just don't really, I feel better after my workout in the morning. And then I come home and I'm with my daughter. I usually don't eat much. If I do, it's like maybe a Greek yogurt. And then I find though, once I eat, my metabolism starts going and now I get hungrier and hungrier. Whereas sometimes I can go all the way till noon and I don't want anything. But then I want something probably not good for me because I'm so hungry at one point. So is there any problems with that then? Because I feel like if you do the intermittent fasting and you wait till you have like an 8-hour period in your day, you might overindulge. Is there truth to that too?
There can be, and you hit on so many good points there. So you first said, I'm trying to circle back to remember all the things you said because there was multiple points to be made. You said you weren't. You kind of wake up and you're not hungry,
Yep.
and that's okay. If you're a breakfast eater, I'm not going to force someone to eat breakfast.
Sure.
But what we want to also pay attention to is, like you said, did you wait so long that now you're just ravenous and you're just basically eating anything that's in front of you, and you're consuming too much in one sitting? That's something that you want to be a little bit more aware of. So would tell you, Chris, maybe it's not right when you get up, but is there a point in time between when you get up and you're not so hungry? Okay, we're not going to eat then until that point when you're so hungry. Is there a midpoint somewhere in there where maybe we can have a little something? Okay, and then getting into the specifics of what that something is, what that first meal of the day is, or first snack of the day is. We want to be a bit particular about what food that is right off the bat to start your day. That's how I would approach that. Back to the intermittent fasting for a second. And you mentioned that 8-hour window. We do have to remember that intermittent fasting is not just the 16-8 model, where you're not eating for 16 hours and you're eating through this 8-hour period. Mm-hmm. It can be broken down in different ways, and I do think it's important to have, I call them eating windows, where we're not just continuously eating all of the time. Right? So a really simple model that I think most individuals should adopt is sort of this 12-12. Okay. Not eating for 12 hours and then having this 12-hour window where you're not eating for that full 12 hours, but that's your time when it's okay. It's all right to eat. So having a time in the morning when you start eating, when your first meal of the day is, and then having a set time at the end of the day where kitchen's closed. All right, that's it for today.
So can you break in you brought this up, micro and macronutrients? That's a thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I brought up macronutrients.
So
it is the big one.
What is that then? I'm kind of have an understanding, but I don't think people are listening might know.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So macronutrients are broken down. If you turn over, look at any food label, that's going to be your protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Okay. It's where are the calories in your food coming from, and each one of those plays a different role in your body. When you consume them, they do different things. All right. We hear this right now. This big push for protein. Right. You can't walk into. It was funny. I walked into Caribou this morning, and they're now serving these breakfast scrambles on this, and on the advertisement board that's sitting there. It's 16 grams of protein. Well, I also know if you go into Starbucks in the Target here in Winona, or any Starbucks, somewhere on their board, they're now advertising, protein coffee, and it'll say however many grams of protein is in it. So we're, as a society right now, being very cognizant of the amount of protein that are in foods. Yep. I don't want to get on a tangent, but I think we have to be a little bit careful on, okay, what type of protein is that? Is that a quality source of protein? Right, yeah. But circling back to macronutrients, there's a certain amount of those that every individual is going to want to get in their day based on their body size, their gender, their physical activity level, and all of those macronutrients allow your body to do different things, different healthy processes that we carry out each day.
So for everyone, there's going to be a different type of nutrient level that you're going to need based on body size or where you're trying to get to. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if for yourself, can you give the listeners an example of what your day looks like when you eat?
How specific do you want?
Just a general outline. How about just for someone that's I'm Matt. I wake up and I eat this, and then I have that. Just something real.
Yeah. So I am a breakfast eater.
Okay.
And do you want me to get into kind of what those foods are?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You said earlier about getting as many whole foods as possible.
Yes.
is the best thing, and it's not easy these days because a lot of shit's processed out there. So
if
you want to get into just what you have on a basic day.
So one of the big things right off the bat, I am a breakfast eater.
Okay.
As I think I previously mentioned, but get protein in your breakfast. Protein, one of those macronutrients that we discussed.
And you said that there's different qualities of protein, right?
Yeah, because so often now, like I mentioned with just Caribou and Starbucks, as we have our Caribou coffee sitting here, I feel like we should be doing an ad for Caribou.
You can sponsor anytime you want.
I think we're becoming aware as a society that most of us are falling short on protein, and it's a really important macronutrient for multiple reasons. But now I believe we're starting to pump certain foods and even drinks with protein, and let's call it, more of a processed form of protein. So not that that's inherently bad, but I just think it is still really important to make sure that we're getting our protein from those whole foods. So to start my day, usually focus on Greek yogurt. I like Greek yogurt right off the bat. There's a few different ones that I like. I'm a fan of oats. So I prepare oats in a variety of different ways. So that's my carbohydrate source. And then I usually mix in a fruit. Love bananas, love berries. And that's sort of what breakfast looks like. It's not always the same. Sometimes it's in a bowl. Sometimes I make these protein cookies with oats. But that's kind of to start my day.
Okay.
Mid-morning snack, I'm often working with clients, so I've got to have stuff that's on the go. There's a couple protein bars that I like.
Okay.
And that just, life, we're busy, right?
Yes.
And so not that we always need to stay away from the grab-and-go items. We just need to find the healthier ones.
Sure.
So I have a couple different protein bars that I like, and I usually pair that with a fruit, generally like an apple.
Okay.
Lately, I've been doing sort of this super shake early afternoon, and I call that my lunch. Okay. So in a blender, I'll put a scoop of whey protein, a ton of spinach, frozen berries. I like chia seeds for healthy fats. A lot of ice. I'm a volume guy, so it takes a lot to fill me up. So anything that I can put in that blender that is really low in calories is healthy, but it's going to make that shake bigger. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Sometimes I'll throw some frozen mangoes. Love frozen mangoes in there. Frozen fruit is definitely a hack for your shakes when you're blending them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it makes it almost like like an ice cream base.
Sure. Oh, sure. Okay.
But yeah, I try to have protein in there, a healthy fat, fruit, and then some sort of green in there. All right. So some individuals might like kale. I prefer spinach. So that's my super shake, and it fills that whole blender up. So I can pour like multiple like Yeti cups full of a shake. But still, it's relatively low calorie, but it fills me up. And then for dinner, that's where I'm really like a rinse and repeat guy. And this is where my nutrition clients will challenge me and say, hey, Matt, I need something a little bit different where I don't, because I enjoy it. It fills me up. I feel like I have enough variety where I don't get bored. But for dinner, I often just do a veggie sheet pan, and I switch out the protein. So what that looks like is, we all know what a baking sheet pan is.
Yep.
I put a piece of parchment paper down, and I will just change out different vegetables that I can essentially roast. So the big ones: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. I'm trying to think of what I had last night. I threw some mushrooms on there.
Ooh,
and then
sweet
potatoes, pretty much every single night. So sliced sweet potatoes. And then I will just change the protein out. So I'll often go lean turkey, chicken. But once a week I'll do a really lean cut of steak. I'll do seafood, so I'll do salmon. And I'll just rotate through those in a 7-day period. Some of them I might have twice in a given week. And I'll just change those veggies out. It doesn't mean I'm having all of those every single night. Sometimes I do. And oftentimes I don't. I might just pick one or two.
Sure.
Something that I also always try to make sure to have on there, I'm really doubling down on fiber intake, which is so important. Beans. So the big ones that I like to do are chickpeas, or garbanzo beans, or black beans. But I'll rotate through pinto beans as well. And it's so easy because we talk about people starting their journey. Something that they do is, I always joke with them, and I ask them, "Are you?" Because they'll say, "Give me a new recipe," and I say, "Are you Emerald? Like, are you gonna actually do this, right?"
Right. Yep.
And so often people they're searching for this magical recipe when it's really like just do the basics. I know your life is busy. You have 3 kids at home. You're running to a variety of sports practices. You've got a musical here, a game there. If you just master this veggie sheet pan, it's so easy. So now we've got it all laid out on the sheet pan, right? Protein included. 400 degrees on the oven, 45 minutes, done. And that doesn't change based on what you put on there. Of course, everyone's oven's a little different, so check it out along the way.
Sure.
Make sure we're not burning things. Also make sure we're not eating things raw. That doesn't do anybody any good. And then if you want to mix a low-calorie condiment or sauce, and that helps change it for you from night to night, and gives you the flavor profile that you want, perfect. Go that way. There's some that are healthier than others, but that is like a great starting point for dinner. It's so simple. It's plug and play, rinse and repeat. A big thing with nutrition is, what are you going to do consistently? What is easy and convenient? What can you master?
Sure.
And so I'm huge on that dinner piece. And then from there, if you get bored with it, well, now you have this base, and you're starting to develop your cooking skills a little bit. Everyone can set the oven to 400 degrees for 45 minutes.
Sure.
Don't forget to shut it off, at the end of the
Don't forget that.
end of the night. But once you do that, then you can start to experiment, we can start talking recipes. But so often, I skipped over this part, but instead of having an individual focus on recipes, which have, 14 ingredients. Let's just focus on meal assembly. Can we make awesome meals that have 5 ingredients or less? That's a really good place to start. And if you look at that veggie sheet pan example, and most of my meals that I laid out, they all did have 5 ingredients or less.
Sure.
Because it's easy, I'm busy, on the go, just like everyone else is, and I, enjoy it. That's the other big piece is you have to be able to enjoy your eating journey. If it's not satisfying, it doesn't fill you up, you feel like the flavors are bland, any of those things or any combination, you're not going to get very far, and you're going to quickly go, I'm not seeing any changes on top of that. We could circle back to those New Year's resolutions. Forget it. I'm going back to what I was doing. That was just easier, right?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
You throw all of those things together. Why are 80% of people who made New Year's resolutions no longer doing them? That's, one of the big reasons right there.
Well, what I just heard from you discussing this is I heard basically it turns into a lifestyle habit. That's what you have to do. And you have to get down the basics, which you just laid it out very easy on a sheet pan. That's pretty simple. You can see exactly what you're about to eat. And obviously you can make a bigger portion if you have 2 people in the house or kids as well. So you can get them all the same thing. But the one thing you actually said, which for me is one of those things, is you talked about how we have a busy lifestyle and you grab a protein bar and stuff like that. And you said there are some healthy choices out there, because I guarantee if you go to a grocery store, you're going to look at all these protein bars and you're going to be like, I don't know which one to get. So for you, which ones do you find to be healthiest or that would go along with your journey of weight loss or whatever you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think you can look at that's such a great point, because yes, you go to a grocery store and they're gonna have a wall or a partial aisle of protein bars, and it's like, where do I start? So the brands I really like, how I classify my protein bars is I'm always gonna go ingredient list first. Okay, so protein bar, we would hope that it's predominantly protein. However, what I've found in the protein bar industry is more often than not, it's a carb bar. So it's a carbohydrate bar. Sure. If you look at those macronutrients that we talked about, it's actually going to have more carbohydrates than it does grams of protein. And I challenge anybody out there to go look. Now, doesn't mean all of them are that way. There are some that have more protein than carbohydrates, or it's like a 1-to-1. Which is good. But I'm always going to go ingredient list first, and then also cue in, how does your body feel after you eat that protein bar, or anything for that matter. So number 1 on my list is the RX bar. It's a classic bar. Now it's number 1 for me because the ingredient list is so basic.
Okay.
And my body feels good when I have it. It's not a massive calorie hit. Most of them are right around 200 calories. I just wish they had a little bit more protein, because it's called a protein bar. That's one. It has more carbohydrates than it does protein. So RX is number 1. I also like, getting in now to ones that have a bit more protein, but I would classify as like a little more processed. Some ingredients that, maybe I don't want to be having that one every day. I do like Quest bars. Okay. I know some individuals don't respond well to some of those ingredients, and they're just not that they're getting sick after they eat it, but they're just like, that just didn't sit quite well. So I think it's super important to cue on, how do you feel? Just because I say something, like my body processes something and I really like how I feel when I eat it, doesn't mean it's going to be the same for you. There's a new bar on the market that's been in the press for a variety of different reasons now that we won't get into, but it's sort of the gold standard when it comes to, if we're talking about the amount of protein in a bar. It's called the David bar, and they sell them at Target now. They're at Hy-Vee, a variety of stores. You can get them online, get them on Amazon. But that, in terms of the amount of protein per the amount of calorie in the bar, is the David bar. So those are 3 of them. Aloha bar makes a plant-based bar. So if you're a plant-based eater, I think Aloha bar is a good one. Again, wish it had a bit more protein. But if we're going ingredient hierarchy, for me, it's going to go, and there's others, but just top of mind, RX, Aloha bar. Both of those very clean ingredients. And that Aloha bar, as I mentioned, is plant-based.
So how much protein do you try to get into your body per day, or how much should a person get into, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like we argue, in the nutrition world about this as well. I tell everyone, just because it's a simple number to follow and there's science to back it up right around this number, 1 gram per pound of body weight, or ideal body weight. Meaning, if you're a 200-pound individual, but you want to be 180 pounds, 180 grams of, we're talking about protein, so protein per day. Okay.
That's when you think about it, it's kind of a lot.
It's a lot. So that's what I say is it's a North Star, right? Are most individuals going to get there? You mentioned earlier, this feels like it can start to become a full-time job, this whole eating thing, and it can. But just use that as the North Star. And if you're shooting for 180 and you get to 150, hey, you did pretty good.
Yeah.
So anywhere from that 0.8, but again, this is why I didn't mention 0.8 off the bat, is are most individuals going to bust out a calculator right now and go, okay, 0.8 times my body weight, and then I got to hit that every, we're already getting into these equations and, these finer numbers where it's just say, just that one to, the amount of weight that you weigh, 1 gram per pound of body weight or ideal body weight. We could use a range if we want, which I was hitting on 0.8 to 1, but really just use that 1 gram per pound of body weight. Use that as your North Star. If you're getting somewhere around there, even if you're falling short, great. As long as you're not, let's say you're shooting for 200 grams and you're getting 80, like we're missing the boat. You're not getting enough, So I think it's good to be aware, but to not overly stress about like hitting that exact number.
Yeah. So when it comes to weight loss, we talked about this a little bit. I know there's a difference between weight loss and BMI, which is body mass index. Is BMI more important than a goal on a weight loss, or does it kind of go hand in hand?
So hot take, I just wouldn't really invest in BMI at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
I actually did. I have this health scanning device that I use, and had my BMI tested the other day, and my BMI is over the amount, because BMI is based off of your height and weight.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't take into account body fat percentage and the percent of muscle mass that you have. So I really wouldn't invest too much in BMI. Now, body fat percentage, very important.
Sure.
But that's going to take more analysis, or using a particular device, or doing formal scanning with your doctor. Multiple different ways that we can do that to get a body fat percentage, which is more of a gold standard that we want to shoot for in terms of, okay, what does our body really look like under the hood in terms of the amount of body fat percentage versus how much muscle am I carrying?
Sure. Yeah, I used to teach kids that in health class. I would say BMI. I'd put my BMI onto it by the weight and the height I am, and it says I'm like double obese, possibly into being a diabetic at that point. And I told them, don't put too much into this. I mean, at your age, at like middle school level, you're probably not packing on a ton of muscle at the moment, but if you do, obviously, I said, then there's the body fat scans, and that does take a lot more. You gotta go to like an actual doctor to do those things. Are there ones that are? I always heard about like underwater weighing, and is there one that's better than the others?
There are ones that are more of a gold standard, that with the water weighing system. That's a really good one. And there's others out there, but I mean, we can talk into these things can cost like thousands of dollars.
Sure.
What's kind of cool now is that they're coming out with devices that you can just use at home. And
Really?
so I'm actually testing this one out right now, and I just got it. So it's it's very new. I can't quite say everyone should go get this,
Right.
but I am sharing even with my clients that I'm training at Northern Pine Fitness. There's this new device that I got. So far, I really enjoy it. If it's something that you might be interested in, check it out. Here's the link for it, and I'm not affiliated in any way. It's just it's another thing that you can shoot for. And if you're in this game long enough, Chris, like we started this conversation, you're going to have to find different things that motivate you. Mm-hmm. So I started lifting weights when I was 13, so over, 20 years ago. There's got to be different things that, hey, this is, something else that I can measure, or I have this race coming up, or whatever it is, or I just kind of, getting ready for summer. I want to, kind of tighten things up with my diet a little more. Sure. Or maybe I want to lose, if you've been on your journey for a while, maybe you just want to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds. You've put on that winter weight, as we say, you said earlier, bulking season. There's got to be different things that motivate you. So I saw this as an opportunity to not only get a better picture of my health, test out a new product, but it's a bit of a motivation for me to kind of see, can I move the needle one way or the other? Mm-hmm. And this device that I got, I want to mention a bit more about it. It's basically a scale that you stand on, and then there's a handle that you raise directly in front of you. So it's bioelectrical impedance is my understanding. That's like the formal term for it. But it sends like a low current through your body, and through that process can test how much fat mass do you have, how much muscle mass do you have, and give you a body fat percentage. This has been around, this technology, for a while, but my understanding is that it was often done early on by just standing on a device. With the addition of the handle, it's able to send that current that I mentioned earlier through your entire body.
Sure.
And I don't say a current is like, it's not like zapping you. This is like low-level stuff. You don't feel it at all. But it's really intuitive, and it connects to your phone. So now I can start charting, what is my body fat percentage in January? What's it look like in February, March? Now we're starting to notice trends.
Sure.
And so, like I said, it's early on in the game, but
Yeah.
just something that, maybe we find out in a year, that thing's not accurate at all. But, the early tells on it, or the early research that's on it is about 98% as accurate as some of those more, in-depth, more expensive models where you would go to like an actual doctor or, maybe an exercise physiology lab to have the process done.
That's pretty high in percentage.
Yeah, and if you're just doing it at home, it's rather inexpensive, and you're just able to, have it all on your phone through Bluetooth. That's pretty cool.
Now I want to get into Northern Pine Fitness, which is your business, and I see you on social media all the time, and you're doing exercises that I don't see them as common out there. Like, obviously, when people probably think of going to the gym, they think of get on a treadmill, or I'm going to go do some dumbbell curls or bench press. But you're doing other ones that I don't know if they're functionality, but I've seen your workouts online. You kind of show some samples, and you also do the nutrition as well. I've seen that too. So, what at Northern Pine Fitness, what is your goal then for clients weightlifting wise? Or because you said that people come in and they have these ideas of, this is what I want to get better at, this is my goal, and then do you structure the workout for them around
Absolutely.
those? Okay.
Yeah. So everyone's on their, like I mentioned earlier, their own journey, right?
Okay, yep.
And so what I will do with a 7-year-old is going to be different if I'm working with a 15-year-old athlete.
Sure.
Right? Very different. So working on both ends of the spectrum. But with that, there's some commonalities there too, in terms of just, building foundational strength for both individuals. For an older individual, it might be regaining that foundational strength that they've lost through years of immobility and, not moving enough, and loss of strength. For that 15-year-old athlete, it might be learning how to control their body, building foundational strength in that capacity, because they're so new to the game, right? They're still trying to understand. They're growing. We all remember those growth spurts where it's like, what is my body here? I just kind of feel like I'm out of control, or I just don't feel like I have control of my limbs. I often joke with younger athletes. We've all seen those things at the car wash that kind of just wave in the wind, and that can often be the case where it's just like, we've got to develop some stability and control here. So it's going to be very different from individual to individual. The stuff you see on social media, yes, that's stuff that I use in my own workouts. A lot of the stuff I use with clients, but everyone's on a continuum in terms of, their ability. Just because you see me post something on Instagram doesn't mean everyone's doing that exercise that I work with. Plus, their goals are different. So it's very specific to the individual. And in terms of Northern Pine Fitness and my business, that's what the whole business model is built on. It's very personalized.
Sure.
I only do one-on-one personal training and small group training. There's no large classes. It's not a membership-based studio or facility.
Okay, so then what is a group class? What would that look like? If because I see you have people come in, it's usually, I think, about 6 people is what it looks like. What does a group class look like, or what would you be doing, and for how long is it?
Yeah, so everything is structured in an hour.
Okay,
so all sessions are an hour long, and the groups are, every once in a while I'll do like a pop-up on a Saturday, so I call it a pop-up session, and that's really for anyone who might want to come try the gym. And I do my best to post these on Instagram.
Sure.
So if you're interested, check out Northern Pine Fitness on Instagram, and I post those on the story. I try to do like a week in advance or a few days in advance to see if there's any takers, if anyone's interested. But for the routine weekly groups, individuals have created their own groups. So whether it's coworkers, family members, friends, they get a group and they say, hey, we want to embark on a fitness journey. We want to come to your studio. We like what it's about. We want to give it a try. 60-minute class, and we cover, we use the philosophy that I've built over years of training to help those individuals in a group capacity. So it's going to be things like focusing on mobility, definitely focusing on strength and building muscle. We also can't forget about the heart and lungs. So we're going to be doing some conditioning, as well in that session. So we really build a lot into a 60-minute period.
Wow. And are you doing the class with them?
Not with them. No, I'm leading it. So I'm
Okay.
coaching
I was
individuals.
going to say, how are you doing that? And
Yeah.
probably also doing your workout in the day.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty cooked by the end of the day anyway,
Yeah.
because I am doing a lot of demonstrations,
Sure.
because I have to show everyone, each individual exercise and how to do it correctly. And coaching is just, I try to be as high energy as possible. With my coaching style, it doesn't mean I'm screaming in your face, but being attentive and all of that takes energy. So yeah, I don't think I could do like a workout with every class and every individual that I work with. So I still need my workout time.
Yeah, and so then you have your own workouts built every single day. Are they changing all the time, or do you stay consistent for maybe a month or two and then you change it up? How does that go?
I do my best to change things up. There's certain levers that I want to pull every week. I'm currently not following, and I will from time to time, but like a set program. I have a blueprint that I'm following. A certain number of lifts for my lower body that I want to get in. Every week. My upper body, there's a certain amount of conditioning and cardio that I want to do, and how I structure that can often be based on that week and my availability. And just learning about my body and doing this long enough. I'm able to plug and play along the way. Sure. And, continue to reach for the goals that I have for myself. And, to the mention of goals, right now there's not a real specific goal that I'm shooting for, but let's say that I do have some sort of competition or a race coming up. Well, then I'm going to start to gear things towards that specific challenge.
Sure.
It's to make sure that I'm prepared for it.
So if I gave you an example, would you be able to lay out a quick plan if I just said, this is my goal, if I just told you right now? Could you, like if I said...
I mean, absolutely I could. I don't know how, you quickly, because that's, the thing is I'm going to get very nuanced with your program. I'm not just going to give you like a cookie cutter,
sure.
Just like 30,000 foot view. I'd be able to give you some things.
Sure.
But it might just sound like that's the best you've got. Like this really is an in-depth process, and everything really is personalized.
Okay.
Right? So there's questionnaires, questions that I ask individual. I mean, all the way to, we've got to talk about health history, injuries, and then we've got to dive into how much time do you have available every week? You can only 2 days. Okay, 2 days, that's all I get. All right. What can we fit in 2 days? How can we maximize? And if an individual has 2 days, they can still make progress. We can still make that work. I don't say that in like, if you only have 2 days, like just forget it. But it's gonna change based on all of those factors and more. So kind of tough for me to just give you and then. Without getting into more nuances with that.
Yeah, well, that's actually cool that you brought that up, because I didn't realize how detailed your business and model is. You said it's a personal studio. It's not a big mass of people coming on in. It's very individualized. So you actually get into health histories. I didn't even know that. I assumed that you would obviously give someone a workout and then a meal, an idea of your nutrition, but I didn't realize it got into, okay, how many days a week do I have with you, basically? How much time can you do? I didn't realize all that. That's pretty in depth.
Yeah, for someone to and that's what I want. I want individuals who come to my studio, like they have 24-hour, I say 24-hour, I do say, I go to bed pretty early, so if you shoot me a text after X hour, I might not respond.
Sure.
But I want them to have access to me. And in order for me to give them my absolute best, I have to know where they've been, where are they right now, and where are they trying to go.
Okay.
And so with that, there's just so many things that we want to hit on without making them feel like they're drinking out of a fire hose right off the bat. There is a way to titrate this and dosage it along the way so that it's a steady process where 2 months in, they've just been given this steady dosage. And things have continued to advance where they look back in 2 months and I was just talking with a client the other day who, had difficulties getting through our first session. We just kind of had to, and we weren't even, they would say that, we weren't even doing anything that challenging, but 30 minutes into 60-minute session, just kind of like, I'm not feeling right. Like I gotta kind of tap out. And we talked about that, multiple months into their training journey now. And they're just like, I can't believe like how far I've gotten. Do you remember our first session? I said, you bet I do. And so, that's where I mentioned it's so important to understand where someone has been and where they're trying to go and what are their current abilities. Mm-hmm. And that is the business model. Is it's very specific and it's very personalized. There is a gym and a place for everyone. Northern Pine Fitness is not for everyone, but the YMCA. I love the YMCA. You and I grew up there, you know, and I still go there and use the sauna. And, you know, it's a wonderful place. The YMCA is not for everybody, but everyone can find a place that is for them.
Sure.
That is what Northern Pine Fitness has to offer.
That's awesome. I didn't realize how in-depth it got. That's really,
There's going to
really
be pros
cool.
and cons to all of these places as well, right?
Now, I assume that the client is responsible because you can't be with them 24/7, obviously. You can map it out for them. You can give them the workouts. They come and obviously do it, but then they have to take some responsibility, probably with the nutrition as
Bingo.
well.
Yeah.
So that I feel like would be the hard part in your profession is, okay, now if you want to see some progress, you got to go home and do the rest too. I can't be with you all the time.
Yeah.
So do you ever have anybody come back and say, it's just not working out for me? And then do you have to sit them down and go, okay, are you actually following the nutrition plan?
Yeah. That's honest coaching. And
Yep.
I try to, you know, get to that and that's that personalized approach, right? Right off the bat, having individuals understand we're going to have some honest conversations, and it all comes from a place of I care about you and I want you to succeed. If you ever feel like I'm coming at you, let's talk about that too, because I don't ever want you to feel that way, but at the same time, there's some tough love along the way. You know, are you doing the things, and are you doing your absolute best? And sometimes someone's absolute best in a given moment, they might say, this is the best I can do right now. It's not my absolute best. That's okay too.
Sure.
Right? But yeah, you're only working out for, you know, let's say you even see me 2-3 times a week for 60 minutes. There's a lot of hours in that week outside of what we're doing. And so we started this conversation with it that one of the biggest things is nutrition, which is why I also became a certified nutrition coach, is because that is such a huge piece of the puzzle. And it's only getting more challenging with all of the delicious, hyper palatable, fancy way of saying super tasty foods that are designed for us to overconsume. They're everywhere and they're so easy to get. And life gets chaotic, and sometimes we think something's healthy and we just choose, you know, that convenient option when really, you know, again, we haven't mastered the basics and even understand what is it that I should try to be grabbing right now. But circling all the way back to your original point, yes, there's honest conversations and sit downs, you know, that need to happen. But it's very important for me for my clients to understand this is all coming from a place of I care, and I want you to get to the goal that we discussed when you first came in here.
Yeah. Well, that's really good that you have to have that sit down with them, because you are a coach, and coaches want the best for whether it's an athlete or whether it's what you're doing as well. Someone has to push you, and some people need that motivation and others don't need that motivation. You're one of those guys I feel like doesn't need that motivation, but your clients, they want that or need that, and that was what helps push them past whatever their barrier is. Like you said, that first person came in and had tap out after 30 minutes, and then they look back and they go, how far have I come? And that's amazing to hear those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
So how long are your workouts roughly for yourself personally? Are you like just an hour?
It's roughly around an hour. Yeah, that's kind of when I just that's a really, really good amount of time for me to get in what I need. Yeah, and it's not, you know, understand during that hour, it's not all out, you know, huffing and puffing and just lifting as heavy as I can the whole 60 minutes. You know, that's mobility, warm up, cool down, everything included in there.
Oh, that's everything included.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was always told the reason why older people start getting out of shape is mainly because of mobility, and stretching is a very important thing as you get older. And
yes.
I'm guilty of not doing that. I'm terrible at doing that. So I need to get into that. So mobility is a very important part of the process for one of your workouts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So what would a warm-up look like? What's a typical warm-up? 5 minutes?
5-10 minutes.
Okay.
You know, for me, longer. For individuals that I work with, a bit shorter.
Okay.
If we're comparing the two.
Yep.
Reason being, you can start to lose people if the warm-up is too long. But at the same time, if they need the work, which most individuals do, understand that having them understand this is a really important piece of your workout. It may not feel like it because you love when we start to, get into things and you're sweating. Yeah. We all, once you learn to love that feeling, you love that feeling. But understanding that in order for us to stay healthy and safe, we have to double down on this work. It's just as important as everything else.
Sure.
If we don't take care of our mobility and we can't move properly, it's just a matter of time we're going to have injuries.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And injuries that are, sideline us. And I have my clients understand you came here to improve. The last thing we want to do is put you on the sideline.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
mobility is so important.
That's really cool. Now I want to talk about recovery, because recovery is a big thing too. And you sent me notes about cold plunging and sauna, and I see you in the sauna all the time. And now I've heard the whole craze of the cold plunge as well, and that sounds miserable in my mind.
Yeah.
I love the sauna.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. So can you talk about both of them and what the benefits are?
I can. I would spend more time talking about the sauna. So big thing with both of these is, again, we've hit on this already, but let's hit on it again. You've got to find a way to enjoy the process. By the way, how are you liking that nitro cold brew?
I'm actually enjoying this more than I was expecting to.
All right.
And the one thing I like about it, and I was just thinking this through the whole time, instead of grabbing an energy drink, because on the weekends sometimes I don't have my pre-workout, this just feels cleaner when I'm drinking this. I don't feel like I'm bogged down. Because I usually, if I get an energy drink, it's a no sugar one, but it has all the flavor, which still makes it feel thick.
Yes.
This doesn't make it feel like that.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how I feel throughout the day.
Yeah, I am interested as well. You just hit on an important point that I touched on when we were chatting nutrition, Chris, is how do you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you consume X? It's so important. So anyone that's listening, I encourage you with your food. This is basic stuff. Yeah. Start asking yourself, after I have this, how do I feel? And if it's a negative response, maybe it's something that we should have, less of. Now, if I have a Blato's, I'm going to get a little bit of a negative response. My body's going to say, hey, that was delicious, but maybe we shouldn't do that every single day. So it doesn't mean that you can't ever have that thing. If it's your thing and it's the thing that you want to enjoy once a week, once a month, whatever it is. But just start kind of hitting on, how do I feel when I have that? And so I'm curious how you feel later in the day when you compare that to an energy drink. And you said a bit cleaner. Yep. You asked me about this nitro cold brew earlier. And I'm going to argue that coffee is 10 times out of 10 going to be, I think, a better option than an energy drink or a pre-workout, just because it's a more natural form.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, yep.
But let's get to sauna and cold plunge.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless you had something you wanted to expand on there. I don't.
Not yet. I want to see how I'm feeling because I haven't actually had any food today. So I don't feel bogged down. I've had my pre-workout and I don't feel bogged down. I had a good cardio workout this morning, sauna as well. Yeah. So I do want to get into the sauna, and I believe in the sauna wholeheartedly.
Yes.
I don't know much about the cold plunging, but if you want to go into both of them and why I assume you do both?
I just sauna. I'm right with you. I don't like being cold. We're in Minnesota. Like, I struggle most days getting warm enough. The last thing I need to do is go sit in a cold tub of water.
Yeah.
Now, not to say there's not any benefits to cold plunge. I haven't delved into it as much, so I don't want to speak on cold plunge too much. I started this conversation of sauna and cold plunge is you have to enjoy the process. So for you and I, if we hate getting in the cold tub, maybe we should just not do it and just not force ourselves to do that. But the same breath, we've fallen in love with sauna, right? And we love how it feels. And now we're learning more and more about the health benefits of sitting in the sauna, and the studies are revealing, heart health, the mental benefits, all of the things that help you and move you in the positive direction. So, hey, we love the feeling of it. We know it's good for our health. Let's do more of that within reason. Within the amount of time per session, number of sessions per week. Let's do more of that. We enjoy it. It makes our day better.
Yes,
so the whole part of all of this is you have to make it work for you. The workouts, the sauna, the nutrition. If you hate it, you're not going to stick with it.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yep.
So, but speaking on the sauna, I just mentioned great for, mental benefits, for heart health. And most of the studies that have been done, because I'll often have friends ask me, Matt, do I do, hot, dry sauna, or do I do infrared? And I'm more on the studies of the Finnish studies that we have the most data on are the hot saunas, the ones like at the Y that are cooking. They get up to 175, 180 degrees is generally where we want to see that temperature. Okay. And then health benefits range from that 0-1 minute mark all the way up to 20 minutes is the studies that I've seen. And within, let's call it 3-minute dosages as that ramps up. So we go 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and so on, all the way up to 20. There's these incremental health benefits that we get. We won't get too deep in the weeds on that. But from what I've seen, right around that 20-minute mark is where you've maximized at that temperature of that 175 to 180 degrees plus. That's where you start to maximize the benefits, and anything more than that, you're kind of just, torturing yourself.
Sure, yeah.
I have seen some that go up to 30 minutes, but we both know 30 minutes at that temp, that's pretty
tough.
serious.
Yeah, that's
right?
pretty tough.
And in terms of, frequency, if you've never saunaed before, don't go try and sit in there for 20 minutes. Just listen to your body along the way. First off, check with your doctor. Make sure it's okay for you to go in a sauna that's that hot. With all of the things that I'm sharing today, check in with your doctor first. That's always where it starts.
Sure.
And then go from there. But sauna, that's, what we're seeing is, start with it, listen to your body, working up to 20 minutes at that temperature, and anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week. And you can go more than that. But that's where we start to see the big health benefits.
Sure.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I go 6 times a week, and people ask me all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you go so often. I go, yeah, but I can't remember a day when I was sick to the point where I was in bedridden.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We should knock on wood again.
I don't even knock on the wood anymore on this one because I just feel like
you're
it's
just
because
that strong.
I just think it's a sauna. You're detoxifying your body, getting things out, possibly killing things at 175 degrees. I mean, that's hot. And germs can only live for so much in a heated environment as well. But I always tell people, it might be a placebo effect in my mind that I just think that I'm never going to get sick because I'm in the sauna. And the most I'll ever get is maybe a stuffed up nose.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was younger, I would get a strep throat at least once or twice a year. And then ever since I've been doing saunas, I would go in the sauna when I was a kid at the Y with my dad, but 2006 is when it all kind of started, like I was saying back at the beginning of this conversation. And I would go I'm actually mad when the sauna is shut down for the day. I hate that because to me, I always tell people, going and doing my workout, it's the torture part, and this is my dessert at the end. And I love the sauna. It's just relaxing, whether it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever I can get in that day, and I just feel really good when I'm done. I can feel my heart pumping. So like you said, the benefits of that, but I don't ever get sick anymore, and I feel like it's because of that sauna. And I always encourage people to get in the sauna, even though it's very uncomfortable because it's hot.
Yeah.
But you and me, we love the hot.
Yeah, but you get used to it, right?
Yeah. And you said that there's studies that have been done that Finnish. I assume you're meaning people in Finland.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the bulk of that research comes from.
Yep.
Those are the temperatures of those saunas, the style of those saunas, and how long are they in there?
Yep.
How many times per week?
Sure.
That's where most of the strong data is coming from.
Gotcha. Now, is there any benefits of weight loss because of saunas?
I'm not going to say no.
Okay.
That's not something that I've tapped into too much. Without looking into that, I'm going to argue that it's going to be more about lifestyle, nutrition, your workouts before it is I'm just going to go to the sauna 4 times a week and I'm going to lose all of this weight. In terms of overarching statement, the number of calories you burn through whatever it is, going on walks, working out, it's going to be really hard to outrun a bad diet. If you're consuming too many calories, you're not going to be able to go sauna it off, if that makes sense.
Sure, yep.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get into what you were just talking about. You can't outrun a bad diet, and that's so true. But what about weight loss supplements? What are your thoughts on weight loss supplements? Because they're everywhere out there. Nowadays
they
you can
are.
take a shot, and
yes,
I can't remember. What
yeah, so I feel like there's multiple classes of supplements now. In terms of when you and I were growing up, there might be a fat stack burner at GNC, right? Just to some sort of, you know,
Yep.
pill that had a bunch of caffeine in it.
What
you
was it
know?
called? Like thermo?
Yeah,
something
there.
Like
I
that?
feel like there was
Hydroxycut.
yeah,
That's what it was.
yeah,
remember that.
multiple along the way. But yeah, now we're talking, you know, prescription weight loss drugs.
Yep.
So like I said, I feel like there's multiple classes. Which one are we, you know, discussing right now?
Whatever one you think is the most important one to discuss. I think this is what do you think most people need to know about, I guess, weight loss supplements?
Yeah, I think, you know, no matter what it is, I think, you know, just that supplement, right? It's not a magic pill or a magic shot. You still have to do the work,
Sure.
unfortunately. And, you know, even if you find benefits, if we're talking weight loss and you are losing weight, it's not a substitute for staying strong and keeping muscle on your frame,
Sure.
which you're going to do through weight training and strength training, right?
Yeah.
It's not a substitute for learning how to eat healthy. You know, just because your appetite is suppressed because of something that you're injecting or taking, you know, you still have to learn the basics of nutrition and how to eat healthy. You know, that is what is going to feed your body
Yeah.
and move the needle the most.
Well, the one thing I worry about, and I can't remember what the shot's called that everyone's taking nowadays.
The GLP-1 like drugs or Ozempic.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
The one thing, it hasn't been out long enough, has it, to know if there's going to be any health risks down the road? And I'm down
Yep.
the road, I mean like 5 years from now.
Well, I mean, they've been around for quite some time
Well, they
because
have.
individuals with diabetes
Sure,
were
okay.
the first ones, you know, taking this to control blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's being utilized as a weight loss, you know, drug. And so that's the difference that we're seeing. And so we have a larger population of individuals on, we'll call it the shot, or, you know, taking GLP-1s, Ozempic, you know, multiple different brands. But we are, in a way, I, you know, tell everyone that I work with that maybe, you know, thinking about it, is we are the test subject in a way. Not that people haven't been doing this for quite some time. It's not that we don't have any data, but at this scale, like, we're all learning together. But what we do know and what we're learning or already knew, you know, through this entire process is it's not a substitute. You can't just do that. I mean, you can, but you're not going to find yourself a healthier individual at the end of it if you don't do the other things as well. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, because it's not going to help your lung capacity and your heart capacity. Because I always told kids, I go, your heart to me is a muscle, because it is. It's pumping, it's pumping, it's pumping. And if you don't work that, you lose it.
Absolutely.
I was always told if you ignore it, they go away. That was always teeth. My grandparents used to say, you ignore them, they'll go away.
Yeah.
So brush your teeth, obviously. And I always said the same things to students. I go, that's why I always taught them physical education of other things you can do, whether it's, you know, just going and playing Frisbee golf or walking your dog. I said, your heart's still getting up there. You're still working it like a muscle, because if you ignore it, it'll just go away. It'll clunk out. So I like that you said that you still have to put in the work yet. You know,
do.
It doesn't just... not just a magic shot. I mean, you will lose weight, but you're not going to find yourself a healthier individual, because it sounds like from what you're telling me and everyone, which I kind of already knew, is health is more than just weight loss. It's
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
It's coming down to the foods you eat, the way you get your body moving in a day, your recovery and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, what individuals need to understand with that, you know, drug, and, you know, sort of a big takeaway from this particular topic of this conversation is, and you didn't say fat loss, you said weight loss. So if an individual goes on that drug, yes, there's a high likelihood that they're going to lose weight, but a percentage of that weight is going to be muscle mass.
Sure.
So if they are losing muscle and someone is taking this as a weight loss drug, the goal should be to eventually get off of the drug, right? To no longer have to take it. Well, if that day comes and you've lost weight, body weight, the number on the scale has gone down, but you've also lost a lot of muscle mass, you haven't adopted a strength training routine, you're not taking care of your heart and lungs through cardiovascular work, you still have no idea how to eat. As soon as you go off of that drug, your appetite's going to come back. You've lost muscle, so now you're at a worse place when we talk about all of the great things that muscle does for us in addition to like physical function.
Yeah.
You've lost all of those benefits that come along with that. You know, maybe 5-10 pounds of muscle that you lost, and you didn't learn anything and adopt any healthy routines along the way.
Sure.
So I really challenge individuals who are thinking about doing it or are currently doing it. You've still got to double down on all of the things that we're discussing today.
Yeah. I think that's really good that you hit on that point because it's like a trend, and I see all these things come up on my TikTok feed. So it must be listening to what I'm doing. Because another thing I saw, and I don't know if you know much about this, peptides. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I see people taking peptides. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I see it's like a shot that you're taking into your stomach, which already seems dangerous enough because if the needle's not sterile, that's bad too.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do you know much about peptides and what they are?
I'm not as well versed with
Okay.
with peptides. It's some kind of a newer thing that we're testing out. So I don't want to speak on it too much
Okay.
in
Nope,
terms
that's
of
perfectly
and
fine.
I'm very honest. Like with all of my clients, I try to stay in my lane, and if I don't know something, I'm going to tell that individual, I don't know much about that. I can refer you to a professional who might know a bit more, and maybe that's a time too where I'm like, I need to learn a little bit more about this. So maybe that's that moment in time right now where I need to learn a little bit more about peptides. I've definitely heard of them and the benefits and the upside to taking some of them, but my kind of surface understanding is, again, in this area, we're much of the test subjects. We're kind of testing this as we go. People are reporting positive things, and I think some are reporting that I'm noticing no change, but that's about as far as I want to get into kind of the peptides.
Do you have, can we talk about supplements?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one, I was told there's, good supplements to take, and then there's some that we talked about hydroxycut, weight loss pills and stuff of that nature. In my mind, and so correct me if I'm wrong, you give your take, but I always think it's very important to have a good whey protein to supplement the protein you may not get from the whole food, because you said getting it from the food sources is going to be the best, the best way of getting your protein. A whey protein is probably just supplementing what you might not get in a day. And then pre-workout and creatine. Those are like the three things that I take.
Yeah.
And are those good, or is there something else that would be better?
Yeah. No. So good. We'll get to those specifics in a second, but I want to back up, and maybe this is the most important thing that I say all day. Okay. So I'm going to preface it that way.
Folks.
When we talk about supplementation, and just anything related to an individual's health, a call to action right now. Anyone who's listening or watching, go get your blood work done if you haven't had your blood work done lately. Okay. And when I say lately, baseline, like you need to be getting it done annually, at least once a year. I would encourage you to get it done, a full workup, a full panel, even twice a year. Okay. That is going to allow you to take a look underneath the hood to see what's going on and to see some things that you might need to pay more attention to in terms of your heart health or your blood sugar, or maybe there's a supplement that can help you because you're a little bit low in something like vitamin D. So when we say basic supplements, whey protein is a winner. Creatine is a winner. It's one of the most studied, if not the most studied supplement. When you say pre-workout, we kind of already talked about that a little bit. And I would encourage individuals to first, with a pre-workout, focus on whole natural food sources first. And then if we want to talk a little bit caffeine, where we get that from, that would be an individual basis that I would work with an individual on that. So I'm not saying your pre-workout is bad, but I would get a little bit more specific with you. We'll save that conversation for when we hop off the pod here. But get your blood work done, and then your supplements go from there, okay? In terms of like a multivitamin. Because you're going to notice, like if you're low in something, and then discuss it with your doctor. If you're low in something, that might be a supplement that you want to take, a specific supplement, but making sure that it's a healthy. I just had my annual physical with my doctor, and we hit on my blood work and some areas, and I had a couple of specific supplement questions that I'm interested in taking. And so, he gave me his feedback, like a yes, no. I think that'd be a worthy, avenue to pursue.
For sure.
But so important to get your blood work done at least once a year, full panel, full workup. Do a little research yourself before you get that done. There might be specific blood markers that you need to ask for that aren't included in your normal panel. So do a little bit of research, but at the baseline, just go with what your doctor recommends. Just say, I want a full workup, a full blood panel done. You need to be doing that at least once a year. And the supplements go off of that, and then have that discussion with your doctor in terms of if that's a worthwhile supplement to consume. So whey protein, absolutely, or a plant protein if you're a plant-based eater. But I think a protein supplement great. Creatine, if you want to take that, we're just the benefits of that continue to come out. We've known about the physical benefits for a long time, but now there's more cognitive benefits that are being associated with
I saw that.
creatine consumption.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I got back. No, my pre-workout has like 1.3 grams of creatine in it. So then I got the monohydrate for another 5 on top of that. So it's like 6.3. And as of this recording, this is like week 2, and I haven't been on creatine in a while. I'm definitely noticing a difference in my workouts. That's for sure. I didn't contact a doctor or anything like that before I took it. I just took 5 milligrams because that's seems like it's kind of the baseline of what individuals take.
Yeah.
I have noticed a pretty big difference in the way my lifts are going.
Yeah.
So that's just, and people, there was always a negative connotation when it came to creatine. And you said it's one of the most studied things, and it's finding out that it's beneficial not only for workouts and stuff and for your body, but also up here in the mind.
Yeah.
And I just saw that too, and I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, for somewhere along the way, it got kind of that bad rap, and I don't know why. But now any doctor, nutritionist who knows their stuff knows that this is safe, and again, always with this stuff, it's nuanced, individual basis. I'll preface it by saying that. But really, we're noticing really no downside to consuming 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, per day. Yeah. Really, only upsides or benefits to it.
And can't you get creatine naturally from foods too?
There are hard to get like the amount that we want,
right?
But it is naturally in some foods, but it's not really, like I said, the amount that we want to get. So. Yeah. Not a particular food that we're going to just be eating a ton of to make sure we're hitting 5 grams of creatine. Yep. It's better. It's just easier to get it in supplement form.
I know people would always be like, "Oh, that's steroids." I'm like, no. I'm like, steroids are way different.
Yeah. And I think that I'm glad you mentioned. I wasn't going to throw around that word, but you did, so I'll touch on it. Is like, I think somewhere along the way, that's those two somehow got associated, and it's not even in the same like stratosphere. Yeah, it's just.
Do you ever have to deal with people that ask about steroids in your profession? I feel like it would have to come up at some point. Obviously, you're probably not going to recommend it. Yeah, because
it's a really good question, and I can honestly say no. I haven't, and maybe that's when we put things out there. You mentioned seeing stuff on Instagram, and naturally through that, you're going to attract a certain type of individual, and perhaps whatever it is that I'm putting out there. Individuals who might be considering taking steroids are perhaps not the, I'm just looking for reasons of why that might be. Yeah. Might not be the individuals that are coming to me.
Right. And you were like you said, it is a very specific, like you want to be probably a bodybuilder or, athletes back in the day, man. They're all juiced up back in those home run era days of the MLB. So
we're still seeing it, a little bit here and there, but.
Well, in professional wrestling was another one.
Yes,
I mean, back in the day, you would just see these guys just jacked up, Hulk, Macho Man, all these guys. But now if you watch wrestling a little bit more, you're not seeing that body type as much, so it must have gotten out of it a little bit more. And I know Vince McMahon had a whole problem with it where he was in court because of possibly peddling, steroids, anabolic stuff, and PEDs to his wrestlers. But that's good that you don't see that. And, like you said, it might not be the individual that's coming to you. From what I understand from what you do is it's not just working out. This is more of almost a life coach, what you do. I mean, you're, like I said, you're doing the nutrition. You're giving them ways that they can stay motivated. You're giving them ideas of workouts they can do with a allotted amount of time that they have in their week, and then also keeping them mobile. So you're more of a life coach. It's more than just in your name. It says Northern Pine Fitness, but it's like a life fitness is what I gather from what you do, and it's one-on-one, very specific. And I didn't realize all that.
I like that. Can I steal that life coaching piece? No, thanks, Chris. Like I said, I try to make things as personalized as possible, and try to make it as robust as possible, but in digestible pieces.
Sure.
And make it work for that individual. Mm-hmm. And this stuff it's hard. It's hard. And you mentioned the lifestyle piece, right? So we have to find a way to make it not so hard, right? Yep. How can we make this work for us? And what might be doable for one individual is not doable for the other, and what's realistic for this chapter of your life, all of those specific things. But yeah, I'm not going to kind of skirt my way around it and say it's easy. There's days I love this stuff. Okay. I hope that's coming across. You love this stuff as well. There's days where you and I don't want to work out.
Nope.
There's days where I don't feel like eating broccoli, right? And sometimes it's important to that rest recovery. Those are days where we do rest.
Yeah.
Or sometimes that's when I'm going to Blato's or maybe getting a Rocco's Pizza. Shout out to the good pizza spots here in Winona. But it's hard, and we need to find a way that we can still not use that as a way to just, it's too hard. It's an excuse, but make it work for us. And how does it fit in the framework of our life? And maybe you start with this goal, and then you realize that, that's not actually the goal for me. And that's okay. Yep. Your goal was, you were kind of shooting for something that wasn't you. And it's not saying you're not good enough, or phrasing it, in that way. Mm-hmm. It's just that you've realized that this is me. And this is the goal that I want to shoot for. And this is more realistic and attainable. And this works for my life, and this is making me better in all ways.
Sure. Well, that's really good that you mentioned all that. I mean, I love that aspect that it's individualized, and not every one person's the same. Everyone's got different goals, and yours might be to maybe eat a certain way, and some people might want a weight loss because they're overweight, or everything's different. Or there might be an athlete trying to figure out their body, as you said, because that is a big thing when kids grow up. But keep going.
Yeah, well, and I just want to mention that goals can change, right? I mentioned chapters of life. That's so important.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Whatever your goal is right now, and maybe you feel like you're falling a little bit short or you're settling for less, as I kind of alluded to earlier, that doesn't mean that we can't push the gas pedal down 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 months from now. Maybe you're going through it right now. You've got a brand new baby at home, or you just started a new job, or both, or you just got married. There's a lot changing in your life. You just moved to a new place. Whatever it is, maybe that's not the time to really double down on your health and fitness. Not meaning you neglect it, but it might be a chapter in your life where, you only are working out 2-3 times a week. You're not as focused on your nutrition, but at the same time, you're not, indulging too often, or you're not eating any healthy foods. It's not an all or nothing. It's just that there's times where, like I said, we're going to be able to push on the gas pedal a little bit more, really get after some stuff, and other times where it may feel like you're a little more on cruise control, or that you're falling a little bit short. And I think it's really important in those times too to not beat yourself up too much.
Yes. Don't, even if you fall off the tracks one day, doesn't mean you can't come right back in the next day and keep going. And everyone has a fail. That's how you get better.
Part of it. Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Learning how to deal with those, I don't even want to call them shortcomings or failures, but just where you feel like you get a little bit off track. That's all part of it. We all do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's great. And now, as we're starting to wind down the podcast here, I want to have a little fun at the end here. Okay. So I got some rapid fire questions. Not very many, but I'll answer them myself as well. So,
okay, I like this.
What's Matt's favorite workout?
Oof.
Like one specific for me, and I'll answer first if you got to take a minute. I like shrugs. I love holding dumbbells.
So it's like favorite exercise. You're saying favorite exercise. Okay, I was going to go like favorite style of workout, but favorite exercise. Gosh, this is a really good question and tough. I'm going to go rear foot elevated split squats for, I'll say, all the wrong reasons. What do I mean by that is that it is a extremely challenging exercise. So it's a love-hate. But rear foot elevated split squats got to be a favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite healthy meal? I already asked you your cheat meal, your favorite healthy meal, because you dove in on some of these things.
Can I say two?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, we already mentioned the veggie sheet pan. I mean, that's just like the go-to. I just have learned to love that in all the different slight variations. Also, the homemade protein cookie that I make.
Really?
So I would consider that's both a treat and a health food in one.
Okay.
So that's kind of, it's both. It's both the cheat meal and the healthy meal, like all rolled into one.
Well, I don't know if this is a healthy meal. My wife makes a really good hibachi.
Okay.
There's not much into it. It's vegetables, rice, and grilled chicken.
I feel like
So
that's a skilled cook there. I don't.
Oh, she was a cook in the military.
Okay, all right.
So
yeah.
she makes hibachi. That's my absolute favorite.
Hey,
and I
hey,
can
all
eat
right.
myself sick on it. That's the other problem.
Be careful on that, but that sounds delicious.
Okay, what is one workout myth or one fitness myth that you hate? Here's one that I always think. Women think if they go lift weights that they're going to become Superwoman or Hulk because they lifted weights. I don't know if you ever come across that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's still very, very prevalent. And what I, tell those individuals is there are guys in gyms across the country and everywhere that are trying to get big every single day and they can't.
Yes.
Okay. And just because you start to throw some iron around and pick up some weights, everyone listening understand putting on muscle is a challenging process.
Yep.
It can feel like a full-time job at various points. Not to say that to scare you away from putting on muscle. Still pursue the journey, right? But for women out there who are afraid to start lifting weights, you're not going to get big and bulky, period.
That's one of my myths I don't like. I don't know if you have a different myth.
Well, I got so into that one. That you can cardio your way out of a bad diet.
Ooh, that's
Okay,
a good one.
so just run on the treadmill. Doesn't matter what I eat. I can outrun this thing and burn X number of calories because my Apple Watch said this. First off, your Apple Watch is probably not super accurate in your calorie count, and if you ever notice, even on the treadmill, it'll give you a little calorie readout of go run for an hour.
Yeah.
Tell me what those calories say. And then go start looking at some of the foods that one might consume, especially the highly processed foods, and look at the serving size and how little you need to consume to just completely erase, if we're going calorie to calorie, everything you just did on the treadmill or elliptical. So the myth that you can outrun or out cardio your way of a bad diet or a diet that's too high in calories.
Sure. And the last one I have here is, what is one habit everyone should have? What is one habit that you think is important that everyone should have? That's a tough one.
Move every single day.
Move every single day?
Every single day.
Even on rest day?
Even on rest day. And notice I didn't say workout.
Yes.
I said move.
Move, yep.
Go for a walk every single day.
So rest doesn't mean just sit in bed all day.
No. Nope. Still get up and move because there's benefits to that. Let's say you're even really sore from a workout. I'm a little sore today from yesterday's workout. Doesn't mean, even if today was a complete rest day for me, which it's not, I got to go work out after this. But go and move. Get that blood flowing.
Sure.
Especially go outside. Go move outside every single day. Even when it's cold here in Minnesota, there's some days where it's like, we've been going through it lately.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It seems like next week looking a little bit better.
Looks amazing.
Yeah. But it's like a 60-degree swing for us, and most individuals in warmer climates would be like, it's what temperature, and you're excited about it?
41.
Yeah.
And sunny.
It's going to feel like 80, so let's go. But just, move every single day.
And then my last one I have is, and this one I just made up on the spot because I was thinking about it. What is there a fast food restaurant that has something healthy more than maybe another one? Is there a place that you can go? Because convenience is a big one in our whole society, I think. I like convenience. Is there a place that you could go and get something pretty healthy conveniently?
Yeah.
I was thinking Chick-fil-A maybe because they have grilled chicken nuggets.
There are, and I believe we're doing a better job sharing how to make, when you've got to go to those places, how to make it healthier, right?
Yep.
And I won't name a specific place. Here's what I'll say. Sort of that principle that I use with that veggie sheet pan. Focus on places where you are in control of the ingredients, okay? So what comes to mind for you, Chris? I'm going to throw this back on you. When I say that, where are you in control of what the ingredients are? Think about where you go to places and you see different foods that are pretty much single ingredient foods. What do I mean by that? You look and there's doesn't have to be, but there's lettuce, there's tomatoes, there's chicken, and you have control over mixing and matching those. Where would you?
Qdoba. Or Chipotle now in Winona, but I'm partial to Qdoba a little bit more. But yes, I can see everything that I'm wanting to put in it. So I totally get what you're saying there.
Yeah, anywhere where you can, and I don't mean to, geez, Matt's real strict or not any fun, but like if you can find a salad bar, like in a grocery store, I feel like COVID knocked a lot of these out.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think like the common denominator was like they shut down and then stores didn't bring them back. But if I can find a store that has an awesome salad bar, because they also have protein options at those salad bars too, right?
Sure. Yep.
But that's what I'm talking about. Not saying that you have to go to the salad bar, but that type of setup where you can control the ingredients that are going in your food. Now, let's say those aren't an option wherever you are. You're at a basketball tournament with your son or daughter,
Right, yep.
and they don't have that. I think, doubling down on protein, trying to make it as whole food and natural as possible. And without getting into it, this is where that education piece of nutrition comes into play, right? Because I always, I sort of use, I smile as I say this, but like as a gold standard for someone who's on a road trip and they stop at a gas station because that's all that's around. And my quiz is, what are you going to get? I want you to take me into that. I'm not asking you this, but you take me into that grocery store, gas station, and walk me around as if it's a grocery store and show me what are you going to get and say why are you going to get it. How are we going to get a little something that's healthy that we're going to then take in the car and we're going to consume because we got a 3-hour ride and this is all that's around.
Sure.
That education piece is so important because you can go to fast food places and just make little changes. I also want to circle back that like maybe map out your week where Saturday is going to be the day where you go to that place. And maybe that's the day where you just enjoy the food, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's your day where you don't have to be so, I don't want to call it restricted, but I said earlier, guardrails need to be in place if you want to be successful at this stuff, okay? Map your week out so you know that, well, all these other days I'm doing things, I'm really focused. I'm dialed in. I'm hitting everything. But I know on this day, that's just a day like, it's a family outing. It's a sporting event. I keep using sports as an example because a lot of individuals that I work with, they have sons or daughters. They're everywhere on the weekends, and it's usually for sports or family related events. Map your week around. That's just the day where you're going to enjoy insert fast food place. And you don't have to make any changes. Doesn't mean you need to go totally crazy. You're going to keep things within check in terms of quantity. You're still going to do a good job that day hitting your protein. And after that meal, you're back to focusing on whole foods.
That's great.
But just don't forget, like, what's the point of living this whole journey if you can't enjoy those times? And maybe that's like a ritual for your family. And that's a moment that you really enjoy together. You don't need to be the one that, is necessarily busting out your Tupperware that you packed. Now, if you're at that point of your journey and that's what you want to do, no shame on that, right?
Nope.
But knowing where you're at and what that moment represents and what you've been doing the rest of the week, I think is important to touch on as well.
Yeah.
That was a really long answer to that question.
That's awesome, though, because if you plan it out, you can still have fun and enjoy it. That could be your cheat day because people have to have that.
Exactly.
Otherwise, sometimes you get unmotivated.
Yeah.
And then you forget how bad I actually felt when I ate those foods, and you come back and go, I want to feel good again.
Yeah.
Now we're going to map out my week of meals like you expressed earlier.
Yeah.
And how do I feel? And if you feel like junk, it's probably because your body's not used to the junk anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you just consider junk after junk, your body kind of adapts to that, I would say, and you don't feel it as much as you would after you have 6 good days and 1 bad day. Like, oh gosh.
That's such an important point that I try to get every one of the individuals that I work with to the place where they understand what good feels like. Because you might ask an individual, let's say they're not eating healthy. They might say, I feel fine. I feel good. And do you really feel good? Do you know what good feels like? And when you get to the point where you truly know what good feels like, and then you go and you have that meal, not to say it's not going to taste good. It's still going to taste good, right? But let's say this happens on a Saturday, and then you come back Sunday. The rest of the day is Saturday. You might feel a little off because that's not something you normally eat.
Sure.
Coming back on Sunday, you're going to be craving those healthy foods because you know the response from your body when you eat the good stuff, the stuff that your body's used to, because you're on this journey of being the healthiest version of yourself. So it makes it much easier to get back on track when you've already set things up the right way.
Well, now that brings me up to one more question before we end this.
Yeah.
Because I keep coming up with them. Because I know that you're working with a lot of adults. They're probably going to ask, what about alcohol? Okay, what's your response? Is there a healthy alcohol out there that you can have every so often? I mean, obviously it's about moderation. You don't want to just go out and get blackout drunk or whatever. Right. But are there any sort of alcohols that are more healthy than others? Now, I like craft beer, and I know it's really heavy in calories.
Right.
I know that.
That's an area, there might be other nutrition coaches or nutritionists or doctors that would disagree. But in terms of like which alcohol is healthier, I think what you already hit on is how often and how much per sitting.
Sure.
And then if we have those things in check and you're doing it responsibly and it's a part of your healthy journey, and let's say it's, not in excess, I don't think the type matters. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think we have to be aware of frequency, how often we're doing it, how much we're consuming in each setting. Are you in control when you're doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it enhance your life? Is it actually making your life better?
Sure.
For example, let's take someone who really doesn't drink much, but they have a friend coming to town, or they're going to visit a friend, and they know that a drink or two is something that they're really going to enjoy. And in that moment, they socialize, they have fun, they get into great conversation with their friend, but it's not something they do often, hardly at all. It doesn't, to me, really matter if it's wine or if it's beer or if it's something else.
Sure.
It's all of those other factors that are going to be more important.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. That's awesome, because it's all about moderation, it sounds like. And obviously, they're not healthy, but if you're going to indulge, just keep it within control. I
Yes.
guess. That's awesome. Well, Matt, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you on social media, because plug it, and I'll put it in the show notes for everyone as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, and first off, thanks for having me on today,
Absolutely.
Chris.
You're welcome.
I feel like we got so excited and jumped right into the nitro. I wasn't even able right off the bat to just say, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great to catch up, and living, back in our hometown of Winona. It's been great to catch up with you and see you around town. So it's awesome that we could make this happen. We've been trying to do it for a minute now.
Yep.
Where you can find me, best place is Instagram. That's where I'm putting out most of the information. Like I said, the nature of my business is very private. I'm not afraid to say, I don't even have a website. I use Instagram as my website. So if you're looking to contact me, direct message through Instagram, Northern Pine Fitness. You can also northernpinefitness@gmail.com, send a direct email. I rock old school that way,
Sure.
and that's part of just kind of the intimate nature of my business, and the private nature is I tell everyone that I work with, I'm not looking to work with 1,000 individuals. I want everyone that I work with to understand this is very personalized. I want you to have access to me, and I really want it to feel like a tight-knit community. So
sounds like
Instagram,
quality over quantity. Love it.
I'll take it. Thanks,
Yeah,
Chris. Yeah. No, this has been a lot of fun, and I hope the viewers and the listeners, hopefully learned a thing or two from today's conversation.
Sure. So Instagram is the best place.
That's the best place. That's where you're. I say it's the best place. It's that and email are what I'm monitoring most often. But also free information. I do my best to just put a lot of free content out on Instagram. So maybe someone is just not at a place where they're ready to pay for coaching, right?
Yep.
Or they're in a chapter of life where they can't commit the time. Okay.
Sure.
I would challenge an individual on that to maybe remap their days or weeks a little bit to make time, make this a priority. But if you're just looking for free information, Instagram, Northern Pine Fitness is a great place.
Well, I'll plug that into show notes for everyone that's listening or watching, and that way you can get a hold of Matt if you want to try this, or if you just want some free content, because I know he's out there showing workouts that he does. I know you've been doing food reviews and stuff of that nature, showing things that are healthier than not, so you can also get free information that way, or just listen to this too. That's a great way of doing it. But anyways, thank you, Matt, for coming on in. Thank you for the Nitro Coffee. I actually enjoyed this. I was shocked. For those who are listening, please like, share, subscribe. If this resonated with anybody, or you think someone needs to hear this, share it with them. It never hurts to hear about life coaching is what I like, because there's more to fitness than just working out. There's so much more to it. And I thank you for coming on and sharing your wide, vast knowledge of all of this kind of stuff.
You're welcome.
So this will come out in about, not this coming week, but the following week. So it'll be out in the middle of February. So hopefully those people who have maybe dropped out can watch us and go, wait, maybe let's get back into our New Year's resolutions and let's get back on track, because there's a lot of good information out there from Matt. So thank you one more time, and we'll see everyone next week. Cheers.
Cheers.